And we're live.
Great. Thanks so much, Dallas. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hewitt-Apperson. I'm a senior planner here in the Planning and Development section over in the Development Services Department with the City of Longmont. Tonight is the neighborhood meeting for a proposed annexation of 11386 Rogers Road, also known as the Kairoy property. With us this evening, we have from Norris Design, Kristen Dean. We have Carlton Henry, and then from the Kairoy residential team, we have Taylor Steen and Tyler Sibley. With that, Dallas, if I can have the presentation. All right, next slide. So in terms of meeting overview and format, just kind of a quick agenda here. In terms of our format, we are live streamed here. We will have a section of the meeting available for call-in or any questions and comments. We will have instructions posted on screen for that. So I will go through the we'll go through the process and the actual description of the project. And then we will discuss what the next steps are, and then we will take a 5-minute break, and that will give anyone who is interested in calling in an opportunity to call in and get on the queue. And from that point on, we would then move to our questions and comments section of this meeting. So next slide. Again, this is the housekeeping section. So when it's indicated after we do our presentations, you will call in and then we will reiterate these instructions and have this slide up again when it is time to call. Next slide. All right, so the property in question is a roughly 9¼ acre property located here outlined in red and in the yellow. It is on the south side of East Rogers Road, between Lashley Street and Alpine. Weaver Park Road basically terminates about halfway through the parcel, and to the south of this property is railroad and property. It is in the vicinity of the sugar factory planning sub area. It is not within that planning area, but it is nearby just in terms of location. Next slide. So in terms of just I'm going to touch on the process. The applicant will describe the project. This particular area is in a section of the city identified for mixed use employment under the Envision Longmont plan. High density residential is allowed as a secondary use in this area. And as noted, this property is adjacent to the sugar factory planning sub area. This property is currently unincorporated Boulder County, and it is in their general industrial zone. So the proposal is to annex this property into the city of Longmont to enable its development. The city council heard and referred the annexation back to staff to basically instruct the city to accept the application and start processing this as an annexation in October. We are now here for the required neighborhood meeting. Following this neighborhood meeting, the applicant will submit an application that will be reviewed by the Development Review Committee. Ultimately, there will be public hearings by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council in order to determine whether or not this property will be annexed into the city of Longmont. Upon annexation, it would be zoned for mixed use employment consistent with the Envision Longmont plan category. Additionally, this is within the city of Longmont's planning growth area. It is essentially an enclave, although it does not technically meet the definition of an enclave for annexation purposes outlined in the state statutes, but it is surrounded, essentially 2/3 of the site is surrounded by city of Longmont. So this would be, this annexation would essentially can take steps to fill in this donut hole of unincorporated Boulder County into the city of Longmont. Upon approval of the annexation, or once the city is annexed, or once the property is annexed into the city of Longmont, there would be a number of subsequent application processes that would be required prior to development of the property. We would require platting through the preliminary plat process, at which point it would then go to final plat, site plan, and public improvement plans. The preliminary plat does require approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So there are a few opportunities for additional public comment on this particular project. And with that, next slide. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Taylor and Kristen and your team to talk about the nitty-gritty specifics of this proposal.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight for the neighborhood meeting. As well, as Jennifer mentioned, we're discussing the property located at 11386 East Rogers Road and annexing it from Boulder County into the city of Longmont. Next slide, please. To just give a brief overview of what we'll be talking about tonight, I'll give a quick introduction of myself and Cairo Residential, the applicant for this proposal. We'll identify the subject property, go over the current zoning and use there on site today. We'll then talk about the current City of Longmont zoning and the envisioned Longmont plan, go over our proposed zoning, which, as Jennifer mentioned, is to mixed-use employment. We'll take a look at the current annexation concept plan that we'll be submitting to the city, go over a few benefits to the City of Longmont that we think this annexation will bring with it, and then answer any questions and comments that you might have. Next slide, please. To introduce myself, I'm Taylor Steen, part of the development team here at Cairo that will be working on this project. With us, we've also got Tyler Sibley, who's our Vice President of Development. Just a quick about Cairo. We're a full-service multifamily development group. We have headquarters in San Antonio, Texas, and Denver, Colorado. We've been active in the Denver, Colorado, and Front Range areas for a number of years now. I've developed about 5 properties in recent history there, and we are long-term developer and owners. And we spend a lot of time to make sure that our developments not only work for the residents that will be living in them, but also work with the communities that they're located in. Slide, please. To go over the site location, just wanted to provide a quick look and to let everybody get oriented as to where we are looking for this property. So we are on the east side of the city of Longmont. We're to the southeast of East 3rd Avenue and Martin Street, along the south side of East Rogers Road, kind of as it bends south there. The site is approximately 9.24 acres. Next slide, please. Going over the current zoning and the property use, as mentioned, the property is currently located in unincorporated Boulder County. The current zoning with that county is general industrial. The site for a number of decades now has been an exterior storage and scrapyard. The site at any given time can be home to either 225 to up to 500 storage tenants, storing boats, RVs, trucks, equipment, all kinds of items on site. Next slide, please. These are just more images of what is currently on site. Next slide, please. Now we'll go into the City of Longmont current zoning map. Once again, you can see our site outlined in red. It is in the white and gray dot area, which represents the unincorporated Boulder County. Thanks, Dallas. We are surrounded by mixed-use employment zoning, which is shown in the orange and gray striped areas, as well as mixed-use corridor zoning, which is shown in the light purple to the northwest of us. Next slide, please. As mentioned, we will be working to rezone the site along with annexation to the mixed-use employment zoning designation. This would be consistent with the envisioned Longmont master plan map, which is what we're looking at in the bottom right corner of this site. So you can see that the future Envision Longmont map has this site designated as mixed-use employment, along with everything to the east and south of us as well. So our plan is to be consistent with the future land use designation from the city of Longmont. Next slide, please. A little bit more information about the mixed-use employment zoning and what it is there to do. So they have designated this district to provide areas for diverse employment and attached residential and supporting services. So I think the goal from the city of Longmont is to kind of continue the downtown corridor and providing high-density residential options for the ever-expanding services that the city of Longmont is needing to provide as it grows. Next slide, please. This is a look at our annexation concept plan, which is what we will be submitting with our formal annexation application. This provides a look at a very high-level plan for the site. As you can see, there's no buildings or anything at this point. The goal of this is to show that our site will be a multifamily project across the whole site. That would include the normal aspects of a multifamily development for buildings for housing units, leasing, resident amenities, parking spaces, some open space, as well as detention. We are showing 3 access points to the site. We will probably have 3 access points, but not necessarily in this location. We are working with the city of Longmont to determine the best locations off of Rogers Road to have those access points. As Jennifer mentioned, we are surrounded by City of Longmont property. So you'll see at the top of the concept plan of our almost 3,000-foot boundary of the property, about 1,300 feet are City of Longmont existing properties, which I believe about 16% of the property needs to be contiguous with existing City of Longmont zoned areas to be considered for annexation. As mentioned previously, the site is about 9.24 acres, and we will be requesting the mixed-use employment zoning designation. We are looking to develop approximately 355 multifamily units on this site, which would work with the minimum density requirements of the mixed-use employment zoning designation. Next slide, please. Getting into what we believe are benefits to the city of Longmont after this annexation. One of the main ones is revitalizing this East Rogers corridor. You know, as the city of Longmont continues to grow and expand, and along with what they're planning for the sugar mill redevelopment area, continuing to beautify the East Rogers corridor is something that I think is important to the city. So we are looking to provide a little bit of a nicer development on the south side of Rogers Road to match the nice development that's on the north side. As mentioned earlier, we develop really high-class properties, and think that it would be a great addition to this East Rogers corridor. Addressing the acute housing shortage. As everyone is aware, there's a major housing issue across the country right now, and Colorado is not immune to that. So we are here to help solve that problem by developing some more multifamily units. We believe that multifamily housing attracts critical segments of the workforce, especially for a city that's expanding as rapidly as Longmont and kind of the northern Colorado area. Increased property tax revenues upon annexation. As this property currently sits, it's in unincorporated Boulder County. So annexing the property into the city would allow for the city to receive property tax revenues from the site. We project, just based right now on our early estimates, that after the project is annexed, developed, and stabilized, that we could be paying up to $92,000 to the city of Longmont in annual property taxes. And once again, just highest quality development. As mentioned, Kairoy is a long-term owner and we focus on details to make sure that these projects are well liked by the residents and by the communities they're located in, and we think this would be a great addition to the city of Longmont. Next slide, please. This is just a more detailed look at that additional revenue via property taxes. So as the property currently sits, their 2022 tax bill is approximately $23,000. With the development of this property into the multifamily use that we're looking to complete, we are estimating that annual property taxes, once the project is delivered and leased and fully stabilized, that those annual property taxes paid to the city of Longmont, Boulder County, the St. Vrain operating authorities would increase by approximately $600,000 a year, which we think is a true benefit to the city. Next slide, please. In addition to the annual tax revenues that would be a benefit to the city and their operating budgets, the one-time development fees that would be involved with this development and paid to the city of Longmont and various authorities, we are currently estimating to be just above $5 million. That would include water, sewer, infrastructure fees, the planning, entitlement, and permit fees, fire district impact fees, and affordable housing fees would all go into this number. That would be a big benefit to the city of Longmont. Next slide, please. Now we just provided some representative images of a project we've recently completed in Brighton, just to show the quality of development as well as some of the aesthetics that we are looking at. We like to design these projects to fit in well with their surroundings and not be eyesores. And so we spend a lot of time picking colors and materials that represent the local community that they exist in. Slide, please. This is a look at the quality of development that we provide in our resident amenity areas. Like I said, we spend a lot of time focusing on the details to make sure that these are places that people really want to live in and work in and spend a lot of their time in. So a lot of focus and detail goes into not only the units that they'll be living in, but the public amenity areas as well. Okay. Or looks at some of the amenity areas. Next slide. Same, this is a look at the pool courtyard. So we would have a similar amenity at this Longmont project as well. Slide. Another view there. Slide. And that's it. Now we'll open it up for questions and discussion. Once again, my name is Taylor Steen. This is my contact info. You can also reach out to Tyler Sibley if you have any questions. We appreciate your time tonight and look forward to any questions or comments you may have.
Great. Thanks so much, Taylor. I believe now we are at the point where we will put up the slide with the information on calling in. All right, just as overview of our next steps, I touched on that earlier. The next step will be getting an application in for the annexation and concept plan submittal. Development Review Committee will review and make a recommendation. There will be notices of application mailed and posted. Again, there will be public hearing processes through Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council with notices to the public in terms of both mailing and posted mailings, or posted signs, I should say, on the property for those. And upon annexation into the city, the applicant would submit subsequent applications for review for plats and site plans and public improvement plans. And with that, next slide. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dallas and let him discuss the call-in process.
Sure thing. We will have 5 minutes now for callers to call in. The number is 1-888-788-0099. The meeting ID that you'll put in when prompted is 833-2602-7449. When you're in the meeting, you'll be muted by default. I will address you by the last 3 digits of your phone number once you are in. And once that happens, you're going to hit *6 to unmute. And again, I'll address you by those last 3 digits of your phone number. For now, we start the 5-minute timer. And for those on the call, on the Zoom meeting right now, you can shut your cams off for a few minutes and I'll address you when we're about to come back. Thanks.
Thank you, Taylor, Dallas.
All right, we have about 30 seconds left. If there are any callers, just a reminder that that phone number is 1-888-788-0099, meeting ID 833-2602-7449. Got about 10 seconds left if those on the Zoom would like to come back on, and then if there are any callers, we'll address them. All right, so I am not seeing any callers at this time. Seems like a quiet one tonight.
All right, Dallas, in that case, if you would put up my final slide that has my contact information on it. All right. If anyone has questions about this project and the process that come up after this live stream, feel free to contact me. Again, my name is Jennifer Hewitt-Apperson, and I can be reached by phone at 303-651-8439 or by email at jennifer.hewitt-apperson@longmontcolorado.gov. And with that, since we have no callers, I will thank everyone for tuning in and thank our applicant team for being here to describe their project and on hand to answer any questions that arise. And also thank, obviously, Dallas Stiles, who always does a fantastic job of facilitating our meetings and making sure all of our technology goes off without a hitch. So thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Dallas.
Thank you.
Thank you.